How now, brown cow? How now, brown cow?
Shut the fuck up, bitch.
I love New York. Unique New York. Me stumbling on the words.
You really are the trickiest bastard in New York City.
Good evening, goals.
Are we recording right now?
Yeah.
We're
I don't
just
know.
figuring out our brand new, completely changed setup, and we decided to do it on Anchorman of all movies.
Of all
which
movies.
is pretty
But
funny.
I don't know. Let us know what you think. I don't think we're recording with essentially all of the same equipment, so
Just in the
it
same
shouldn't
room.
sound much different. Hopefully it'll be a little bit more lively, though, because we're
Who
sitting here
knows?
looking at each other's faces. So.
Maybe it'll be less lively for that very reason.
Yeah, maybe I'll just get so fucking tired of looking at you two.
Just close my eyes.
Good evening, ghouls.
Hi, ghouls. How are you?
Hey, ghouls.
Oh, that's cool.
What?
I was like answering as if the ghouls had responded to us.
See, this is already falling apart.
It's actually kind of fitting that we did this for Anchorman because it kind of feels like more like newsroomy, you know? Like
Tonight on Ghoul News, Anchorman, fine, I guess.
fine, I guess.
Subpar.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
Will Ferrell comedy.
So, I guess introing. Good
Yeah.
evening, ghouls. I'm Alec. This is the podcast that this is. Joining me are Robert and Becca.
Yo.
And I made this podcast because I was media illiterate and wanted to not be that. And so we made the Undead Poets Society podcast and used it to watch such literary and cinematic masterpieces as Will Ferrell's Anchorman. And okay, so if you're just coming into it now, we're doing a mini-series called Requiem for a Commercial or Eulogy for a Commercial. I don't remember
Who
which
knows?
one.
It could change at any moment.
Because we have this podcast, we watch a lot of movies. We have the Regal Unlimited Pass so that we can watch them more efficiently. And it used to be that Regal would show this terrible movie or like Pepsi ad before all of its commercials where actors would speak to one another in movie quotes. And it just devolved as it went on. We hated it. They stopped showing it. And so this mini series, we're watching all of the movies from the commercial in order. Today's is I Missed Your Musk, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
They
a
say
quote.
they
I
say it
miss your
differently in the movie than they did in the commercial.
Yeah, it's not the same like vibe as it was in the
Which
movie, but
why pick the
Why
quote?
do it then?
I know.
Like you could just do it differently. I don't
It's
know.
we've talked about this before, but in several of the quotes, it's been like one that you almost miss. Obviously, it's all happening. You don't miss that. Beverly Hills Cop, you kind of could miss it. The airplane one, for sure, you could miss it because there's like a ton of like quotable quotes in Airplane that are the same level of funny. This one, we did miss it until like 2 seconds after, like, oh, there it was. Like, because it's part of a monologue. It's not like a standalone quote. Like he's talking about like, it's the bit is supposed to be that he's broken up with them because he found someone new, and he's like, I miss hanging out with you. I miss your presence. I miss your musk. I miss like. So I don't know. It for me was very non-quotable
I mean, like it's a funny quote, but like
in context.
yeah, in context, like
by
it's
itself
not a
isn't.
one-liner. you
No,
know what I
it's
mean?
not
Like,
a one-liner.
Because a lot of
Just
these
a
are
terrible
one-liners.
commercial.
You know what I mean?
Fuck
Like
that commercial. Goodness.
So bad.
Who wants to hit the plot summary?
Why are you looking at me?
you're a known Anchorman fan.
Oh, of course, of course. I didn't like dread watching this movie at all. So basically Anchorman is about a bunch of really misogynistic men in is this supposed to be the 80s?
I don't think they time it.
They
super
don't
hard.
time
really
it.
time it.
That actually is
But-
kind of an interesting through lines with several of these, like Hot Rod, for example.
Mhm.
Like when does Hot Rod happen?
Yeah.
Like like
There's obviously markers with like certain technology, but it's in that like 2000 to I don't know, there's like 2 decades between like the year 2000 and 2014 where like you kind of can just be anywhere. Definitely this is one of them, except for the fact that it's supposed to be like there's no women in news, which is why I'm like,
Yeah, maybe.
oh no,
it's
it's got to be the 80s. It's got to be the 80s or 70s because they talk about jogging being a new thing, and that wasn't a thing until
Really?
was that the 60s or 70s?
I can't tell.
People didn't jog. Like that wasn't an exercise until I think the 80s.
I can't tell if that was supposed to be telling us when the time period was, or it was a bit as to how out of touch Ron Burgundy is. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
used
don't
to
know.
think
It
that
doesn't
that
really
was the
matter.
bit. I used to think that was the bit until I read more things recently that take place in the same time period, and they're like, it's this weird thing called jogging. Like, why would like you're running outside? So it could be a bit, but like I feel like that's. When did people start jogging? Jamie?
Jamie, can you
I
look
know
that
they
up?
had like a long, like turn of the century type shit. They had like, what did they call it? It was like recreational walking or something, and they would just walk
Yeah.
around in circles.
Yeah, in the 60s, kind of. I don't know. Anyway, it takes place in a nondescript time period where there's a bunch of there's a news station with a bunch of men. Ron Burgundy is like the head anchor, and he's he's just so celebrated amongst these people in this city for no reason. Like it's
Yeah.
he's really mid. Like
It's kind
he's
of a funny idea, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, that like people celebrate this news anchor, like why? And then a woman is hired at the station because they need quote unquote diversity, and she is, as all women
Liberals.
are, like pushed to the side. Like she's hired for she's a pity hire, like a diversity hire, and is given like the small stories, but she really wants to be an anchor. It's her dream, and she of course ends up with Ron Burgundy immediately because how can she not, even though she kind of blew him off in the beginning anyway. Basically he becomes distraught because Jack Black kills his dog, Ron Burgundy being he punts his dog off a bridge, and
It's a pretty funny moment.
It's a pretty good bit.
it's a good bit. And so I can't remember her name. Veronica has to do the news, and they realize that she's actually much better than Ron Burgundy, and they break up. He falls into just a terrible depression, and
She sabotages him, remember?
yeah, she sabotages him because he'll read anything on the teleprompter, and then he falls from glory because he says fuck you San Diego. And basically at the end there's just this giant like thing where she falls in a bear pit because they're reporting on the story of the year, which is about a panda bear, and she falls in the grizzly bear pit, and they get out in a funny way, and because they have to. Oh, it's Baxter. He comes back, and
Baxter the dog.
Baxter the dog that was punted off the bridge. And
We also can't forget the massive fight scene that randomly
yeah,
happens.
that they cut off the guy's arm, and
One
yeah,
of the funnier scenes in my opinion.
it is, but
Just
yeah.
because of like the outrageousness of it.
And that's a theme with these comedies, is that the only funny bits are the ones that aren't at the expense of someone like a minority or like and then they in the end they get back together and it's happy, and they host together as the first man and woman team of news anchors. And then you have Anchorman 2, but we're not watching Anchorman 2.
No, we are not.
Have you guys seen the cast?
Anchorman 2 is funny. Like, funnier, I think. Only because of the lobster bit, in which he brushes his teeth with a live lobster because he loses his eyesight. And they're like, well, couldn't you, like, you could feel that it was a lobster. Like, you knew it wasn't a toothbrush because you could feel it. He was like, I brushed my teeth with a lobster.
It was pretty funny. Yeah, I don't know. There were parts of this movie that made me laugh. I thought that there were several really solid bits. The big news scene or like news reporter fight where they just keep showing up.
They're on horses and
And they're like fucking people like Ben Stiller and shit. Like it's
Yeah.
just like
no, okay,
random,
so
like really
the
big
cast
named people.
for this movie. Drake is in this movie. Will
Really?
Smith is in this movie. Kristen Wiig, I expected her and I didn't see her, but I don't know. Harrison Ford. Justin Long is in this movie. Nicole Kidman, Kirsten Dunst. Just people that I wasn't expecting. Danny Trejo, we noticed, and we were like, what the fuck? A lot of people that I didn't see, but I very much expected would be in the movie. But then, yeah, like Will Smith, like what I did not expect Drake.
Isn't Will
in this
Smith
movie.
in the second one too? Like he's in the big fight scene in the second one too, I swear.
He's an ESPN reporter in this one. Like Fred Armisen shows up for half a second, and Ben Stiller, and like just so many people just for literally half a second. But the person that I can't stand is Champ. I can't pronounce the actor's name.
yeah.
David Koechner, Koechner. I don't know. He, in everything he plays the exact same person, which makes me believe that he is like that in real life, and that makes me despise him because he is just like the most despicable. He's obnoxious. He's overly sexual, and it's like the only funny thing about him. Like quote unquote funny.
Crass, but he's
Yes.
like Crass made a person.
Yes, he
or
is
at least the characters that he
absolutely,
plays.
yeah, no. Like in The Office, he was like that.
I didn't know he was in the office.
He's in The Office. He's like a
visiting.
he does. He visits every season or two. But he just, I don't know, makes me very uncomfortable. In general. And he's the one that says the line that they quoted. And I don't know.
He's
just not a fan.
immortalized by that line now.
Right? On this podcast.
How's it feel to know that you'll never shake him?
Well, I was never going to shake him anyway because he's just lives rent-free in my head in like the worst way.
Same way that the fucking... What's his name from... oh my god, the guy from the Sonic movie.
Yeah.
The human in the Sonic movie.
The human in all of the like animated animal real person movies.
It's the same thing as Caddyshack, where like I'm confused why people thought certain things were funny, including myself, because I laughed at this movie when I was a kid. You know what I mean? But obviously not nearly as bad as Caddyshack. It's just like it came out a little bit later, so it's a little bit funnier than Caddyshack was, or like Airplane. Like there's certain things that they did that were transgressive at the time, which now are like especially transgressive, and like, you know, people are always like, comedy's pushing the boundaries and blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, but like I feel like that is just that's like a smokescreen that like unfunny people hide behind when they say outrageous shit. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it's like,
for the
okay, yeah,
shock
I'm
factor.
laughing a little bit because I'm uncomfortable, and I'm laughing a little bit because it's funny. You know what I mean? But like the truly funny bits from these movies are always the ones that are just like ridiculous and at no one's expense. You know what I mean?
Like
Because that's the key
fight.
to comedy, in my opinion, is like it's got to be something that they didn't expect, but like is still relatable almost. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like there's something about it that like is unexpected but familiar. You know what I mean? I think that like that's kind of like the root of what I think is funny, and there's certain moments in this movie that do that a lot. But for the most part, it just kind of fell flat because it was a lot of like, and because of what the plot was, it's a lot of jokes at women's expense, and it's like, okay, like we've heard it all. You know what I mean? Like we've heard this joke a million times. We've heard it a million times in this movie particularly. So it's just like, yeah, I don't know. It gets a little bit tiresome after a while.
I think the way I described it originally, like when we talked about it, because you guys were like, I feel like I remember it being funny. I was like, it's because it's teen boy humor. Like, and I was never a teen boy, so I never...
Loser.
You'll never know the highs and lows of what it's like to be a teenage boy.
Right, a
Could you
teen boy in
imagine?
America. And we also said that, like, even within, like, the first 10 minutes of the movie, Ron Burgundy goes home and talks to Baxter, and he's just barking, and he's just like talking, and it's like, I think Alex said it's like they left the camera rolling.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that. Like, I feel like large stretches of the movie, or at least portions, where I don't think that there was a plan. They just kind of had there were beats that they wanted to meet, but there were things that happened or needed to happen in between those beats. And they just kind of were like, okay, we'll do, we'll show up on set and we'll just kind of like riff. And maybe that worked a few times and I didn't notice it, but there were other times where, I don't know, stretches just like really fell flat for me. And I'm like, y'all didn't have a plan today, did you? Like, you just
kind of showed up. And
yeah.
Which, like,
really...
I think it's kind of, yeah, it's kind of like maybe this appeals to like more of like people who are into like SNL and stuff like that, because I'm not really an SNL fan. Like the funniest bits of SNL are obviously really funny, but on a whole, I'm not a huge sketch comedy, and this kind of felt like a giant sketch comedy.
I mean, that's where all these men are from, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting at, is they did this kind of shit. And I don't know how many of them were actually on SNL. I'm almost positive Will Ferrell and Steve Carell were on SNL.
Yeah, and I think Paul Rudd was.
Yeah, and again, I'm not an SNL guy. Sure. I'm not a huge buff on SNL or anything like that. I generally find it not very funny, but not in a snooty, like, oh, I don't like SNL because it's just not my thing. You know what I mean? I don't like sketch comedy that much, with the exception of Key and Peele, which I feel like is a very different kind of sketch comedy. Anyways,
it's because they're black and you're a liberal.
No, it's like they hit the nail on the head like perfectly. Not to make this the Key and Peele episode but that what I was saying of like the unexpected but familiar. You know what I mean? Because they've got the same format, but they like execute things in that format in like new and inventive ways that I find funny. Which SNL does as well, but I don't typically like the things that, like, the format that they've chosen, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, and so because of that, I feel like that, like, the kind of humor in this movie pulls a lot from that, like, SNL, like, sketch comedy, like, plays better in front of a live audience than it does in front of a camera, solely in front of a camera. You know what I mean?
It feels really evident to me, like, in which, like, Will Ferrell movies I like which ones are like this, because he and the other actors in this movie, like, that is their forte, and I feel like that is what they're going for. They're in front of live people when they're filming these movies, and they're trying to make them laugh, and the way they know to make them laugh is to, like, do what they do. And when you're in front of a live audience, it's so much different than when you're acting in front of a camera, obviously. But even like what people are going to laugh at, you're not going to laugh at the same thing. Like, you're not going to laugh at the same thing you would at a comedy show if your friend just told you, you know, because context super matters, and like the energy of a room super matters.
Exactly what I was about to say. The vibes of everyone around you. Because I'm sure they laughed their asses off when they recorded it.
I'm sure, yeah.
There was outtakes at the end that I was chuckling at. Yeah.
And you could tell, like Alex said, like which scenes were like improv sketch comedy and which scenes were not. Like, obviously they had, like Alex said, like parts that they needed to perform, like that they had to write out, and there's obviously parts that they were improving more, and the parts that they wrote out were funnier, like, you know, like the burrito scene where he punts Baxter off the bridge is pretty good.
Did you say a burrito scene?
Yeah, that's how he punts him off the bridge, because he throws a burrito.
Throws a burrito out. Yeah, I forgot about
Jack
that
Black,
part.
and that's why he
that's
crashes.
What he threw out of the window. Okay.
And she said burrito scene. I was like, what the fuck is a burrito?
Yeah, I still don't know about calling that the burrito scene.
I know that's what I think about, but
I think it's the dog getting punted off a bridge.
True.
Scene.
Okay, but it's
like calling the nativity the donkey scene.
I mean, why not? And whatever. It's very obvious to me, like, which films were more thought out and, like, funnier, because I like Will Ferrell as an actor. I don't like him as a comedian. I just don't. If I were in live, like, in person, I feel like maybe that would be different. But, like, Stranger Than Fiction.
Wait, you like him as an
actor, like, rather than a comedian. Like
his delivery versus his conception of jokes, rather.
like Megamind, Will Ferrell movie, fucking
That movie,
hilarious.
can we
It's so good.
just stop talking about this and talk
Right, and
about
just
Megamind
talk about Megamind?
instead? Because that
Because
movie
We
fucks.
did recently
Because
watch
it's
It's
not-
so good.
He's not in front of a live audience. He's in front of a mic with written lines. He's not acting with his body necessarily. I mean, of course, you kind of still have to, but it's not as an animated film. Like the delivery is so much different. And like Stranger Than Fiction is a drama.
Best performance
Fucks.
by him, dude.
Fucks.
It's
so
so
good.
good. It's kind of sad that we don't have more like dramatic roles from
was
Will
that the
Ferrell,
one-
honestly.
That's the one where
He's like a character in a book, but it's
in a movie.
turning true or something. right?
He's someone is writing his life. Yeah, basically. It's on the list. We'll watch it eventually.
Nita.
But it's just I don't he's very good at his job. I just am really not a fan of most comedy, as we have discovered or as we've discussed even recently on the pod. I just have a really hard time with comedy because I think it is easier for people to get a laugh out of others when they make fun of other people, or when it's just really easy to get certain laughs. And I feel like most people find Anchorman funny. I feel like most people find crass humor funny, and most people are not, I don't know, most people are laughing at things that I would not laugh at. And
Maybe
I
you're
think
just a woman without a sense of humor.
I think
Now
Yeah,
hold
maybe
on,
have-
audience. Did you laugh at that?
Have you ever considered that you're just like a cold bitch or something? Like,
or maybe I'm literate, and that's
Oh shit.
the difference
oh,
between
fuck.
me
So you're a
and
snob.
that's the difference between me and people who genuinely enjoyed Trolls 3.
Ooh,
So-
Damn.
calling out our friends.
Sorry. I did go to school for a reason, you know? And no, but genuinely I don't think you're a worse person for not being literate, but it definitely is it makes a difference in what you enjoy, because you can find quality, and once you find quality, it's harder to give up. You know, it's harder to like not enjoy. Oh, thanks, Alec. This is all coming, mind you, from the person whose like favorite movie is Nacho Libre. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
but
is true.
but
But like
talk-
I feel like Nacho Libre is so much more intentional. You know what I mean? Like there was a
Exactly.
script. Like they figured shit out before they got there, which I
And
think
it's-
is important. I don't know.
it's directed more at children, so it's not got that like vulgar and like insensitive towards women, and it's much different in the way it finds humor. And I think being funny for children can almost be harder than being funny for adults, because you have to understand the way that you used to think, you know, rather than like the way you think now. Not that I think every child's movie is funny, because as we just discussed,
The
I
Trolls
don't
Dilemma.
like trolls. So
It's funny, so many of the movie quotes from this commercial that we hate all seem to be comedy movies. And then the episodes that these comedy movies are based on are like not that funny. I don't know. Like I
It's-
don't have
yeah. It's like,
like I don't hate the conversation that we're having about Anchorman, but it's like I'm just like kind of like whatever. Like there was that like it was
I have nothing funny to say about it. Like,
it was like a
just
few
mid.
funny bits. I don't know. It was it's fine. I don't know.
Yeah, and like honestly, truly, it's been difficult to like make myself watch these movies and then want to talk about them. You know what I mean? Like especially before this miniseries, and that's not to say like we shouldn't watch these movies. I think it's important that we watch movies that we don't like, especially when you have a podcast when you're talking about movies. You know what I mean? Like, but it was so much easier when we were like picking movies. I'm like, oh, I'm excited to talk about or watch
Just
this
the
movie, and then we
bangers.
watch it, and then we're
Yeah.
like, oh, I can't wait to talk about this movie. You know what I mean? And then it's this movie. It's like I watched it. I'm like, oh my fucking god, I have to talk about this movie for like half an hour or 45 minutes or whatever. And it's just like it's been it's kind of been like a damper on the podcast a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, and like I don't know, like
What's the next movie?
Tommy Boy.
Tommy Boy, which I do like Tommy Boy, but again, I liked it when I was a kid. Maybe it's gonna be fucking problematic now.
What even is that? I don't know.
David Spade.
David Spade and Oh my god, the guy
David Spade of Cusco fame?
Yes.
Yeah, I know
Thanks.
celebrities.
Chris Farley. God rest his
Okay,
soul.
yeah,
Yeah,
Chris
yeah.
Farley's a big name, right?
Yeah, and I love that movie as a kid. I thought it was really funny, and I'm sure when I watch that movie, it'll be like a lot more slapstick, and I won't like that because I like that was funnier for me when I was a kid. But now, yeah, I don't know, it just doesn't do it for me anymore. So I'll be interested to see like how much I like it now compared to how much I liked it when I was a kid. But yeah, it's like comedy is like one of those genres that like for me a horror film. There's not a bad horror film. Like
Because you can justify the badness for the campiness for the
yeah, like there's very very few things that like can make a horror film actually suck. Like Skinamarink, like it's just unscary and uninteresting. Or like
What about
Pray
the-
for the Devil, like it's just uninteresting. You know what I mean? Not scary, not
Don't
interesting.
get me started.
You know what I mean?
Shark in the Corn. What are you talking about?
That was a great movie. I had a great time watching that movie. It had titties, and they lingered on
Oh.
those titties.
Only at the beginning though, and then
Yeah, it was
never
kind of
again.
weird. That movie is crazy. But that's kind of like I
You
think
talk
of that,
about it,
and
you
it was
think
fun.
about it,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like think about that, and it was fun. You know what I mean? But when I think about a bad comedy, it's just oh my god, it's bad. You know what I mean? Like it's just like the highs and lows of comedic film, comedic cinema. Because like if it's good, a good comedy with your friends, dude, and you're just laughing your ass off. Like I can't like the first time we watched Hot Rod together, dude, I literally like almost pissed myself laughing. You know what I mean? Like just so fucking funny. But like when it's just unfunny, it's just like, okay, so not only did you fail at the major job that you're supposed to like do, which is make me laugh, like most of the time they kind of have canned plots anyways. So like you can't even be there for the plots. Most of the characters are usually, you know, not a whole lot of character development in them, because it's all about the bits, and if the bits aren't funny, that's not funny. And you can get movies that are like elevated comedies that have like meaning to
My boy
them.
Hot Rod. I don't know. Pretty
Hot
stiff
Rod,
character arc. Dude.
he has a character arc, and it has a plot, and it sticks to that plot, and everything that happens in that movie is motivated by the motivations of those characters.
And
You
it
know what I
can
mean?
It's
see-
tight writing, dude.
It's
It's
good.
tight
Like-
writing. It's good, and like if
Hey,
the
you know
bits
what
fail,
though? Andy Samberg of SNL fame.
all right.
So
yeah.
we got a good
Yeah, it's like from
SNLer.
that
And Bill
cohort.
Hader.
And to be look,
Yeah.
I don't want to say that like I hate
No, for
SNL.
sure.
You know what I mean? Like I think there's funny bits in SNL. I think on average it's not worth my time, but like the greatest hits are funny. You know what I mean? And so I think that like yeah, I don't know. It's just a really
I
bad
think
comedy
SNL
is
used to be funny.
ugh,
Hot
whoa,
take.
whoa, hey.
And you get to decide which period I'm talking about, listeners.
I'm more of a Studio C.
Studio C
fan.
of BYU fame.
Mormon SNL.
The Mormon SNL.
Hey, they had one or two.
They had
though.
one or two.
The
actually
goalie
funny
one,
ones.
dude?
The goalie one.
That one?
I
That
don't
was
know that
just
one.
funny.
There was
You
one that I
haven't seen
saw-
the goalie one?
No,
That's like,
Sterling. He like the ball just
and
like
the ball
keeps hitting
always
him in
hits
the
his face.
no.
It's like
Oh
a
my
magnet.
God.
Like no matter like where
He's like
goes
running
or-
away, and it like
He just gets a
it bounces
like,
off the rail, goes to his face.
just like professional league, like soccer kick from across the field, but just like heat-seeking missile right into his face.
It's
so
it's
it makes him a
dumb.
really good goalie, but he's also just like trying to escape the pain of
There,
like, yeah.
It's
there's
just
one where like
stupid, like,
they
it's dumb.
there's like he hits a deer while he's like driving his truck through the countryside that I remember being really funny. I can't remember why though. Anyways, that's a deep Mormon cut. But yeah, I guess what I'm trying to get at is just like if I think what makes it difficult to talk about these and makes these episodes less funny than some of our other episodes.
Nothing.
Becca's hallucinating. She's looking at things over my shoulder.
Can I try and like what give
Hey, Junior.
what I think it is that like when you talk about the unfunny, it's hard to be funny talking about the unfunny parts of a movie, and even when we talk about the parts that are funny, have you ever tried to explain a joke to someone that wasn't there?
True.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
True.
So it's like you can talk about the unfunny parts and it's hard to be funny about those, or you can talk about the funny parts, but you're just like explaining
Explaining a
a
joke.
meme, you know?
Yeah.
Like just go and watch the thing.
Nothing is
which
without
I think
context.
is what makes these episodes kind of hard for me. I don't
Exactly.
know.
Well, it's interesting because it's like I don't know, I feel like we have the best time talking about the more literary like episode, like the more literally like books or films, and then we're watching something that is famous because it hits the general target audience, and it is quotable because most people liked the movie. And when most people like something, it's harder to talk about it because it's like it's so generalized, you know? And that's what this mini series is about. It's about things that everybody likes, and
Yeah.
not everybody likes the same thing. So we're going to like some of the things, like some of the movies in here, and I feel like a lot of them are going to be misses, especially when it's something that's so quotable, because when you have something so quotable, it has to be easy to quote. And it has to be easy to quote. Like the way something is easy to quote is because it's either very memorable, like the Casablanca one or the Goonies one, or it's just something that everybody knows because it was funny. I don't know.
Yeah, you do have to kind of go for like the lowest common denominator
Exactly.
of like fame.
Because who's
For
going to
these kinds
understand
of-
the movie
Yeah.
or the commercial if nobody knows the movies?
Are we rewatching Casablanca at the end of this? 'Cause we already did an episode on that shit.
Yeah. Maybe
We talked about this,
maybe we'll
but
repost it, or
we haven't really decided because
yeah.
it is the last one.
The other big thing that we have to figure out is one of the quotes is from The Godfather 2. And I think it's very funny to watch The Godfather 2 without watching The Godfather 1, especially given like the context that Godfather's been placed in because of Barbie. But The Godfather 2 is like a continuation of the first one. So it's like if you watch you'll be completely spoiled about what happens about the first one, and The Godfather 2 or The Godfather is like one of the most famous and popular and like widely
It's on the list.
You know what I mean? Like you have
That's
to
the most
watch.
important thing. It's on the list.
It's an important movie, and like it's probably a great movie. It's just been co-opted by people that are annoying. You know what I mean? So like that one, I guess we're just gonna do Godfather 1 and 2 in one episode.
Or we could just record it and then release it later.
The Godfather 1.
Yeah.
That's valid. We could do that too. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But
Figure it out,
that's
Ghouls.
the thing. You know.
Send us an email. What do you think, Ghouls?
Yeah. You tell us,
If
Ghouls.
we
What the-
get your
what do you want-
email, you better have a picture of your dick and balls or your tits
Ah,
or both.
Yeah.
Why
In the
haven't you sent
attachments.
me your dick and balls?
We know you're the zombie.
Yeah. You have to say it like a zombie.
Dick and balls.
No, it's like it's instead of brains, just like dick and balls.
They should hire us for SNL.
And what if there's no idea of following this? I'm just trying to yes and.
That was
Well,
I-
there's Anchorman for you.
I would normally ask our thing where we're like, why is it famous quote? Why did we choose it? But I don't really want to. I don't really care. So
I think it was chosen because
They wanted somebody to smell popcorn in the commercial.
probably.
Yeah.
They did a scent-based movie quote.
yeah, honestly,
'Cause it is
it's
a Pepsi commercial.
do not forget, Ghouls. This is a fucking ad for Pepsi. So yeah, I don't know. I guess let's rank it on our letterbox list.
Uh-huh.
Right as always.
All right as always.
We just rewatched Barbie over the weekend.
So good. So good.
Such a good movie.
So good.
Go watch that fucking movie, Ghouls. It's just, I feel like we could do another episode on Barbie, dude.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I didn't like how it made me feel as a man.
I always.
That's the point, Bestie.
All right. What's Letterboxd? Who's going first?
I don't care super strongly, so I put it at 55, just above Airplane and just below Knock at the Cabin.
It's a fucking crime.
Are you shaking your head at me?
I like Knock at the Cabin.
No, it's below Knock at the Cabin.
Oh. All right.
All right, buddy. You shake your goddamn head at me. You don't even understand.
Knock at the Cabin shouldn't be that low.
Your stink lines.
I have it at
opinion.
67, below Watchmen and above Smile.
Cute. I have it at 68. above Cocaine Bear, and which means Cocaine Bear's at 69. And underneath Avatar: The Way of Water.
Wow, Avatar over this?
Probably, yeah.
Damn.
At least this is
Yeah.
short.
There's a fucking boner in this movie, and it makes me very uncomfortable.
Sure,
So.
I guess. I mean, I really like boners, so.
Well, I'm happy for you.
Don't be afraid, Becca,
Don't be afraid.
of the boner.
Why?
Children don't fear the boner.
No, stop.
Pause.
Wait. Oh my god, Alec.
All right, go.
Clip that, Jack. Clip that. You're just mad because I made the Instagram reel of the week.
Are we writing poetry about Anchorman?
Fuck.
It wasn't last.
It wasn't last, so I guess we do have to.
Them's the rules.
Oh man,
Should we do
I
like
just
a-
opened up my notes and found my rankings for which salad I was gonna eat last night.
Your rankings?
Yeah, I had a point
She
system.
had a fucking tier list of
I
salad.
did. I added
Should
a
we-
point for every vegetable, and I took away a point for every like extra carb or extra fat.
Should we tease an upcoming project of ours?
Is this actually happening? Because I want it to happen.
I want it to happen.
I think it's very fun.
What?
A little
Oh.
teaser.
Damn, Becca
Oh,
doesn't even
really?
know.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was actually a thing.
Yeah. Keep an eye out on the Undead Podcast Network. You might see
Network!
something in the future. All right. Poems.
All right. Children don't fear the boner.
Are you ready? Is that what we're?
Yeah.
All right. Who's going first?
I can go first.
Pop off, Queen.
I did forget to talk about a huge part of the movie, which was that Veronica
Oh, we
just
did.
doesn't. She just has no conviction.
Yeah.
Like her character is just
like,
written to
she
be
was
there.
supposed to be like a strong female character, and then she just fucking isn't. Like she
it's-
just.
It's wild.
It's what I would call like lowest common denominator feminism. You know what I mean? Which is just to like quote unquote satirize like misogyny by having guys act like dicks and then have a quote unquote strong badass woman like, I don't know, punch them in the balls or some shit. You know what I mean? And now we're feminists.
Ta-da! We're feminists.
Because did you see the woman punched him in the balls? You know, like
And
I don't
she
know.
was the anchor.
It's not. I don't. It's. I mean, I guess it's better than like sincere misogyny, where they just like where the joke is just women suck. I don't know. Like
You get to hide behind your irony and like call it feminism,
But at the end of the day,
it's just misogyny the
Yeah.
whole
yeah,
time.
because Ron Burgundy doesn't actually change
But, like,
really, and she still gets with him, and in fact,
Which
she gets
is-
with him before.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately.
which is the really frustrating part because it's already lowest common denominator feminism. This label that I've just made up, but she also like Ron Burgundy hit on her at the very beginning of the movie, and she completely bounced him off.
she
because
acts like she doesn't
she was
know who he
supposed to
is.
be a
Yeah.
competent, like intelligent,
Mhm.
independent person, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And then the plot just decided that they wanted to be, and so she just caved to his advances for no reason.
And then they have their sex scene where she just has become this total like quote unquote bimbo. Like she's like, look at the rainbow, do me on it. Like why why
Yeah.
do we need this? Like why?
Like they set her up to be something, and then they just completely pulled out the rug underneath it. So it's like,
Yeah.
why did we even bother with this setup? Like, why introduce her as? I mean, like, I guess you could claim later on, once he has done things that have soured her on their relationship, she kind of reclaims this like, I'm gonna be an anchor whether or not you want it, and stuff like that. So she like kind of recovers it, but there's this big part in the middle where she just caters to him for no in a way that like just doesn't make sense if you're a real person with actual motivations. You know what I mean? I don't know. Yeah, she like her character, what little of it there was, just was like randomly scooped out,
Absolutely. Yep.
like for the plot.
Anyway, so I remembered that we hadn't talked about that when I was writing my poem, so I wrote this. A media woman in a world made of men, on her right and on her left, a maker flanked by internalized misogyny. A pointed finger and 3 glasses of water later, she's worked harder than most and given like a prize to the victor, with nothing in the end to show for it, but you just do it so well.
A world made of men, I think, is a really good line.
It's interesting because it's a world made of men, but not by men, because men can't make other people.
Oh,
okay.
Generally.
All right, well, I participate.
Transphobic a little bit, but
Hey. Some men. Not all men.
Oh, we're hitting all the points right now. What else can we say that's transgressive? Maybe that'll make our
I don't know, let's
podcast
make
funnier.
Another
Free Israel.
pedophile joke.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa, hold on.
Something about black men? I don't know. All right.
I'm glad that you couldn't think of anything. That makes me happy.
I'll go next. This just in. Breaking news and breaking bones. The bright lights and angry whites that feed the network ratings. Zombies chomping at the bit for just one more headline. And if the broadcast starts to drag, we'll just make a joke about ass or tits or some shit. That always seems to work. So we don't have to work. Signing off. Good night and good luck. But don't you dare change the channel. Stare at the static until we pull to ads. You don't want to be the last one who hasn't heard. So stay tuned and stay classy, San Diego.
Sheesh.
Jesus, that hurt my ears so bad.
Sheesh.
Pop off. Pop the fuck off. All right, I did one of those, what are they called? When it's like a word, like vertically, acrostic?
Acoustic, autistic.
I think it's acrostic, right?
I think so.
Sure.
It spells Ron
Sure.
Burgundy vertically as the start of each line.
I personally support your decision that it is acrostic.
All right. Read the room or the teleprompter. Not everyone benefits from your uncharitable raucous garbage. Once upon a time, I would have given you a pass. Now all I can do is dryly remark on it like a cringy YouTube comment. Snaps. That was better than I thought I was going to get out of this movie for the poem.
The poems were bad.
I mean, we kind of popped off.
There you go, Will Ferrell.
In where there's no creativity, you find the most inspiration, right?
Is that how that works?
Sure.
That's how it
Can
works
be now.
tonight.
That's how it is
Thank
tonight.
you, ghouls,
All right.
and good night.
And fuck you, ghouls.
Fuck you.
And ghouls, go fuck yourself.
I'm gonna go make some eggs.
Oh,
Damn.
she's in her egg arc voice.
Whoa, boys.
Good night, ghouls.
Bye. No. This is what the audience is here for, is the Uncrustables ASMR.